In this video, I will talk about functions, classes, and what we can do with those. In the last video, we talked about lists, dictionaries, tuples, which are the basic building blocks in Python. And now we will use functions and classes to show how we can take that learning forward. So, function is basically a block of code that you separate out in case you want to reuse that block of code. So when you want to reuse that block of code, you will simply call the function. So when you call it, that block of code gets executed. So a function will typically return a value in which is basically the answer that the function returns, or it might not return anything. It will just do a bunch of stuff for you and just simply return none. So we will first look how typical functions in Python look like. So let me open a text editor here. I love to use my favorite text editor, Sublime Text, here, and we will create a new file, and let's save it by the name, save it in a temporary directory somewhere here. I will call it test.py. Okay, now let me define a function. Functions are defined using def. Let's call this function, let's say foo. Now foo is a function, and this parenthesis denotes that some arguments may go inside this function foo. So let's give it an argument x, and this defines that the indentation defines that we are inside the function. And now inside this function, the namespace is as defined by the value x and any other global variables if present. So basically it has x, so you can do anything with x. Let's say this is a function which returns square of x, so we will call it a square. So this will return x square. So the way to call this function is basically to do this: y equal to square of x, and we can simply print y to see whether we have really squared it. But before that, we need to define what x is. So let's define x is 2. So our answer should be 4. Let me try to run this file. We are already in the temporary. We will run Python test.py. So it nicely prints out 4. This is a basic function. Now let's add some more arguments to this. Let's say it takes another argument z, another argument t. So now you need to specify 2 more arguments: z equal to 4, t equal to 6, 5. Let's say it does some more junk other than simply squaring it. So let's say it doubles z and does some magic with t. If you run it, it is saying the function square is not defined, of course, because we renamed it to junk. Okay, now let's try to run it. It gives me some value which is the output of this expression. So the point is that it can take these arguments. Now some of these arguments can be default arguments, so it doesn't matter whether you supply them or not. If you don't, it will take the default value. So let me simplify this expression a little bit. I will just add the three values. Okay, and let me specify a default value to z and t. Let's say I specify t and 2 and 3, and let's comment out z and t. So you can call chunk only with x, in which case z will be initialized to 2 and t will be initialized to 3. Let's see what happens. We should get 2 plus 2 4 plus 3 7. 7 it is. The important thing to note here is that my battery is low. Okay, so I'll be back after a second. Just hold on.